Console online. HPG connection online. Educational module online. All systems nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Battlemechs podcast, episode 107, the Urbanmech Part A. I am your host, Brent Stewart. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Chandler.
And I'm Derek.
And today we are talking about the Urbanmech, or at least the first half of the Urbanmech. Bottom half, or left to right, what do you guys think?
It doesn't have enough surface area to have quadrants.
Fair. So, the Urbanmech is a divisive machine. If you know about it, you have a strong opinion on it. And what informs your opinion varies wildly from stats to its origin and or its media representation, both mainstream and alternative. So if you have a strong opinion on it, what's the point of this episode? To teach someone whose mind is already set? Or to sway those who are only learning of this machine now, in this moment? Is that the best outcome we can hope for? Or can we together, as a community, look at this beautiful mess of a specific use machine and learn to find some common ground, and then extend that common ground more and more to see that we have more that unites us than separates us? The Urbanmech can be the trash can of love and togetherness. Now, given the Urbi's speed, it'll take some time to cover that ground, but we will do our best to entertain you all on this laborious journey. The Urbanmech can trace its roots back to the Star League, when it was produced en masse and deployed to city garrisons and militias across the inner sphere. Its low tech level and slow design made it a specific deployment environment machine, the dense urban settings of cities and megacities, and it's designed for ambushes and hit and run or hide tactics. Its limited speed and ammo often make it the butt of jokes, but its limited use meant that the unit did not see extensive frontline deployment. Ironically, that, along with the limited tech level of the machine, making the production facility owned by Orgus Industries on Marcus avoid being targeted until late into the Succession Wars. This allowed Orgus to produce the machines for an extended amount of time, and given the hunger for any military machine during the Succession War, each house purchased many Urbanmechs. This resulted them being a common unit in garrisons in any part of the inner sphere, but how they may have been stripped for parts, retrofitted, or rebuilt multiple times, you never know what you're going to get. The idea of the Urbanmech is a design by committee, and it perfectly highlights the strength and weakness of that system. It's a light mech, but it's slow and heavily armored. It is cheap and easy to make, but uninspired and plain. It is a compromise that makes no one happy, but it works very well at addressing the specific needs of the group of the designers. One of the main objectives of the design was to make a profit, and with how well it sold, mostly due to the situation than its capabilities, made Orgus a good profit. 2 other lines have been developed within the Capellan Confederation sphere of influence. The Urbanmech is a beloved machine of compromise and contradictions, and I don't think the community would love it any other way. The Urbanmech 2C is produced originally by Clan Coyote, and was able to surprise many with how the clan techs were able to squeeze every bit of performance out of the design, making it almost have a personality. In the past, other clans to use the machine in significant number are Clan Ice Hellion and Clan Snow Raven.
Hey, the only ones who use it now are Hell's Horses and the Scorpions, so what does that tell you?
Now, do the Scorpions use it, or do they have it in their collection?
Both.
I can see them giving it to the locals.
Oh yeah, it is a great garrison mech. I remember playing Mech Warrior 5, and Urbanmechs in an open field, easy peasy lemon squeezy. You just, shoot them a bunch, they fall over, they die. Bada bing, bada boom. When they are in a city, very much not the same. Very much annoying. Very much, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, when the thing rolls around the corner and just hits you point blank with a AC-10, AC-20, or a Gauss rifle.
And you're just very confused for a second, and then it just pops away, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah. I think the best is when you see an Urbanmech on an open field, and you're just like, you're a dead man.
So, the Urbanmech has the design quirks of extended torso twist, narrow/low profile, and no/minimal arms. The Urbanmech 2C has the same as the Urbanmech, so extended torso twist, narrow/low profile, and no/minimal arms.
I mean, Yeah, it does not have arms. It is distinctly armless,
I mean, it's got weapon ports, we'll say.
which is the cool way to have arms.
So the first model is the UM-R60, and it was seen in 2675. It's got a movement profile of 232. It's got an AC-10 in the right arm. It's got a small laser in the left arm. And it's got 11 heat sinks. That's it.
Hey man, you don't need a lot. It does its job, it does it well.
Mm-hmm.
A job that is not very well shown in a tabletop environment.
No. It has 1 ton of 1 ton of ammo in the right torso for that AC-10. So 10 rounds. Not a lot of longevity on the battlefield.
Yeah, I got nothing
Yeah.
really.
It's a defensive mech. It doesn't need to be on the field for a long time. Theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if you have people in this mech, it's generally people that are expendable.
Yeah.
It's not really what you're gonna give to a frontline like elite unit. You're giving this to like
Generally, you're going to give it to troops who are making up for lack of training with motivation because they're fighting for their home.
yeah.
Guess that's a word you can use. Home.
I mean, it's a nicer way to refer to them rather than cannon fodder.
I just try to do the PR spin on that. So yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's a nicer way to refer to them rather than ruthlessly being sent into battle as cannon fodder.
So the Urbanmech 60 has a battle value of 504 and a point value of 11. And you probably, if you're going to pilot it, you're probably not going to pilot it for long because it's like an event or something, like there is in HBS Battletech.
Good old HBS.
Mm-hmm. So next up we have the Urbanmech 2C Standard, seen in 2849. And it's got a movement profile of 353. It's got an Ultra AC-10 in the right arm and an ER small laser in the left arm. It's got 10 single heat sinks. It's got 2 tons of ammo in that right torso, which also has case because clan tech. And jump jets now, which is exciting because it can go 3, which almost makes them worthwhile. Because, I mean, the 2 jump before is, sad utility.
Hey, it's perfect for going over a little suburban house.
It's true.
3 is whoa, now you're going over, small high-rises.
Mm.
I mean, you just put clan cannon fodder in it.
Yeah. Hey, this is great second line material.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Clan cannon fodder.
So this guy with the clan tech jumps up to 798, and the battle value and the point value is 20. We then have our first Capellan version, the 60L, seen in 2925, and it's got a movement profile of 232. It's got an AC-20 in the right arm, a small laser in the left arm, 11 single heat sinks, 1 ton of ammo in the right torso, no case, nothing. It just stripped out what little there was, and most of that was armor.
Yeah, your armor was sad to begin with on the regular 60.
It's very fragile, but I mean, an AC-20, if you land that shot, probably going to take down whatever this should be ambushing.
Yeah, but if you fail...
But
also should be in the operative word there.
Because, when you're... Where's the ammo at?
Sometimes
Right,
Darius gives us bad intel, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Darius always gives you bad
gives us
intel.
bad intel.
There is no such thing as good Darius
Oh,
intel.
you hit this thing with an AC-10, you're just in the right torso. You're going through with 4 points of damage on the structure. Oh, no.
This is why you need ferrofibers.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this and it's like, well, you're probably just dead as it is, so...
Or rip off that extra heatsink and, put it in the armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because honestly, unless you're jumping, it's going to be heat neutral, even if you're running. And if you're jumping, you're probably in a bad spot, which means you're going to be trying to get out of there, which means you're probably going to be cooling off for a turn. Unless you lose initiative and then you're hosed.
I mean, to be fair, trying to get anywhere or get out of anywhere fast in an Urbanmech is basically just a losing proposition to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
have fun trying to do that.
Yeah.
You might as well accept that you are now a dead man or woman. We don't discriminate.
A dead individual.
Yeah, there you go.
So the 60L has a battle value of 470 and a point value of 11. And Chandler, how do you feel about this one?
The Urbanmech 60L.
Yeah.
It
With that
got
AC-20.
It got big pop gun. It go pop pop. You know, anything can be scared of an Urbanmech if it's behind it with an AC-20. Just do not leave your city. You are a city fighter. That is what you do.
But you got to get into the rear. There's a lot of things that have to go right for you.
If you leave the city, you must be going straight into forest. There is no do not pass prairie. Do not go collect 200 if you go into flatlands.
Or exceedingly rocky valleys and hills or mountain range. Maybe a couple, caves.
Now, I will say, if you're fighting lighter forces, you don't need to get behind them with the AC-20. You just pop them in the front. They'll still fall apart just as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's plenty of heavy mechs that can't take an AC-20 to a side torso.
True.
So next up we have the R50 seen in 2978. And this one is hard to describe because we have a footnote in TRO Succession Wars, which mentions a variant with no arms, which lines up with this listing on Master Unit List. So no battle value, no point value. We don't know what the weapons are. We just know it has no arms.
Yay.
No arm. Who dis?
Mm-hmm. So next up we have the new retcon additions, we'll say. We've got the Urbanmech UM-R90 seen in 3018. And this guy's got a movement profile of 353. It's got a small laser in the left arm, a PPC in the right arm, and 2 medium lasers in the left torso. It's got 13 single heat sinks. It's got no weight saving tech. It's standard. Everything, the armor is back up compared to the L version, but because you're now swapping out a PPC for that AC, heat is going to be an issue, especially with those medium lasers.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're using the Urbanmech R90, you're probably going to be acting like a bracket fighter because you're not going to be using those medium lasers until you can't use your PPC, probably.
True.
And just to make people sad, it's extinct in the Il Clan era.
Aww.
Yeah.
It's almost like it got a big brother that's better.
So, this guy's got a battle value of 773 and a point value of 19. And I believe this started out as a MechWarrior Online variant, like in the meta or something like that. I never played MechWarrior Online. So
no, it first appeared in Battle Technology back in the day.
Yeah.
And
it was
then
actually
HBS had it.
So the R90 was actually designed by Hans Davian as a way to reduce the power of Michael Hasek Davian by fixing AFFS supply lines. The Urbanmech is visually identical, but larger engine that allows for it to get to 54 kilometers per hour. Autocannon replaced with PPC, 2 medium lasers. Small laser remains in place. The jump has been increased to 90 meters. And it was in Battle Technology 18, 1992, created by Craig Reed and Robert Madsen. It was picked up in the 2019 Urban Warfare expansion for the BattleTech video game by HBS.
Well, never mind then. I am wrong.
Yes, you are.
Dun dun
Done.
dun 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 dun.
I am human.
2 errors to be human.
2 errors to be human.
So next up, we have the next Urbanmech, the R100, seen in 3045. This is probably the one Chandler was referring to.
Yeah, it still goes away, though. I'm very sad.
We got a movement profile of 464. It's got a small laser in the left arm. It's got an ER PPC in the right arm, and 2 medium lasers in the left torso. 10 double heat sinks, and those heat sinks take up some space in the torso. But other than that, it's a good upgrade, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you go 464 now, which is supreme.
It was an upgrade that was actually never produced. It was drawing board.
Look,
oh really?
Don't make me cry on the inside.
I just looked it up on. So Sarna tells us that it was. Hold on, let me find it right there. A variant proposed during the clan invasion, but ultimately never put into production because of high cost in the clan invasion. It was proposed during the clan invasion, but they refused to make it because of the clan invasion.
Yeah.
It would have had a 120 rated engine, reach a running speed of 64 kilometers per hour, power of 4 jump jets, 10 double heat sinks, yard PPC, and 6.5 tons of armor would have been carried.
I mean, yeah, it does have more armor, which is nice.
Yep.
Aw.
But they refused to put it into production just because of the cost. And I mean, it makes sense. Like ERPPCs are not exactly
Common
Cheap.
at that point.
common at that point. So they're like, hey, we're gonna put these on things that,
Need it.
need it.
And
So,
can make better use of it.
Yep. So hence why the Suburban Mech R100 was basically shelved.
Well, as a theory, it's got a battle value of 915 and a point value of 20. And definitely an upgrade. And, maybe you could soup up a 90 into 100 with some battlefield salvage just for the lulls.
Yeah. I find that interesting that it's basically just a concept mech.
Yeah. Good concept.
Yeah.
For a later era. For the time it was conceptualized, not that great.
I mean, it's basically just a walking turret.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey. It's faster than an Atlas.
Yeah, true.
true. But that's a good segue to talk about what it actually looks like, because all the urban mechs are some variety of walking turret, which is kind of what they are, kind of literally.
Yeah.
It's literally a pod with legs with little guns strapped to the sides.
Well, one big gun on your right side, and then your left side is your small laser.
Quote unquote support weaponry.
Yeah.
Which, works. It's visually distinctive. It's got a lot of personality in the goofiness of it, in the blankness, because I think a lot of the appeal of the urban mech is it is a blank canvas that you can put your pilot's personality directly onto, because who the heck would drive one of these willingly?
I figure it's due to it being the underdog, like extremely underdog, and it's kind of like well, of course I'm going to root for him because if he wins, that will be hilarious.
Look, have you seen the Solaris 7 odds on that? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
I mean, you win that bet, like you're set, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have much to lose.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless you're the pilot of the Urbanmech, then you've
Yeah.
got a lot to lose.
True.
Uh,
But I mean, the other thing about the urban mech that makes it interesting is, it's just got all the memes and all the goofiness and all the weird sort of personality that the community has projected onto it or anthropomorphized into it. And
well, it's interesting looking at it like in universe. I mean, again, it's like almost 1.5 million C-bills for like the base model of the R60.
yeah,
But if you look in universe,
it's cheap compared to other things. Like, it is
Well,
very cost effective.
no, what I meant is military wise is basically all your Krita, Free Worlds League, Steiner, Davian, they all see it as like this garrison side, put it like at the very far back of the line to the most like
Mhm.
cannon fodder possible unit, because it's like it just we don't want it. Like at least for the Federated Sons, like the Capellan March Militia has a lot of them, but that's because they've captured them, not because they want them. After the Fourth Succession War, the Capellan Confederation is the largest and only user of urban mechs to actually deploy them for frontline combat duty.
Yeah, it's because they just need anything.
Yeah,
Does it shoot? Put it out there.
pretty much. So, like your Confederation Reserve Cavalry and Defense Force had the lion's share, which, of course, they are the most rear line units that they have. But then your second line, but then you also have the Tikhonov Republican Guard and the St. Ives Armored Cavalry, which, I mean, those are fairly frontline units, but it's kind of funny that they're the ones armed with urban mechs, or the next most urban mechs. But you're looking at units like the Warrior Houses and some of the other Capellan units don't have as many. So you can wonder, probably based on political loyalties.
There might be some urban mechs that are punishment rides.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking that, your St. Ives and your Tikhonov are kind of getting the, your loyalty is suspect, so you're getting
The hand-me-downs.
Yeah. Well, all our best stuff is going to like your warrior houses and stuff like that.
Which is fair.
No, it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a nation like the Capellan Confederation, where political loyalty is a very
Currency,
important
we'll
thing.
say.
Yeah, one might call it a social credit.
Hey,
He's credit to team.
But
So the R63 is the next model. It's got a movement profile of a 232. It was seen at the dawn of the clan invasion in 3050. It's got a small pulse laser in the left torso, a LB-10X AC in the right arm, and a small laser in the left arm. It's got 10 single heat sinks, and that's it. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty basic 3050 upgrade to the Urbanmech, and woo.
yeah,
I mean, you give it a ton of cluster instead of a ton of salt shot, and suddenly it's an anti-air turret.
yeah,
True.
it does. Well, I mean, it does have the flak roll and Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, Chandler, I think it's
Uh-oh.
interesting. So it says it's extinct in the Ill Clan, but in the Dark Age, guess who has these?
Me, I have them.
Scorpion Empire.
Of course we do, because we're cool
Yay.
like that.
Because you have something that was built on the opposite side of the sphere.
Look. Don't ask questions about how we get stuff. Don't ask questions about all these Word of Blake derivative designs, and do not ask questions.
Look, the black market is a thing.
Just don't ask.
No questions.
No.
Just don't worry about how many backs of trucks this thing has fallen off of. It's fine. The dents will buff right out.
Don't ask about the Purifier battle armor.
Oh, I kind of want to.
Look, man, just because the Word of Blake was helping the periphery doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
our fault for taking over the periphery.
So the 63's got a battle value of 540 and a point value of 16. And this one, having one more ton of ammo would be really good, so you could alternate. Like, that would be very strong,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Just
At the same time, it's got such little amount of armor. Like 2 tons of ammo is overkill.
And the
True.
fact that you have a small pulse laser and a small laser just kind of is weird to me. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
why? There's either 2 small lasers, because, well, then you get a half a ton, but then you could do a ton and a half of ammo. So it gives
Yeah.
it does give you that swap. It's just you might not have as much.
I mean, you could also
Yeah.
drop a heat sink.
Or just drop the small pulse laser in general. And then
Yeah.
you have 2.
Armor up and add another ton of ammo and maybe
Yeah.
case. Because,
Well-
like, that case would make this an absolute zombie mech.
I mean, zombie in the sense that it's hard to kill, but not in the
Yeah.
way to actually fight with it once you lose the ammo.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're going to have to spend another turn or two putting it down.
Yeah. While it tries to flee.
Yes, try being the operative word, because, again, 232.
Personally, I'd move the small pulse laser to that left arm, ditch the small laser, and just pump that extra half ton in the armor, and then ditch the extra heat sink for another ton of ammo.
I mean, so
And
if
then
we
for
can go back to
maximum
the art,
funny, let's put both tons of ammo into the center torso, because logically, best spot to put it.
Yeah.
Game-wise, not the best spot to put it.
No.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
going back to the art real quick, it's always been like exceedingly blocky turret, like legs incredibly stocky. It looks slow. And the new design that came out with the Kickstarter still looks like an Urbanmech, but it looks a little more streamlined, like the fat's been trimmed off.
Looks more like R2-D2.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Or
Definitely a much more streamlined design for it in the newer art. Like looking at the R63 art, like this thing just, yeah,
it looks like a pylon.
it looks like a pylon. Looks like it should be holding up a building, and then the weapons just look really dinky on it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
especially the old one. The newer one, it doesn't look as bad.
No, the
Yeah.
newer one, as much as I am not a big fan of the Urbanmech, I will say the newer art makes it actually look kind of cool.
You can acknowledge an improvement where there's an improvement.
Yeah, well, no, I actually like the newer art. It makes
Mhm.
it look better. I think one of the reasons I despised it was because of the old art.
Yeah, like it in the new art, it looks like a turret that would be on a naval ship, but they, like popped it off the hull and gave it legs and made it run around.
Pretty much, yeah, that's actually what I would go with. Either that or like a fortress defensive turret.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at that point, I think we're splitting hairs.
Yeah, it doesn't really. It's all kind of the same.
What I want to know is what they're going to do to redesign the Urbanmech 2C if they do end up redesigning it. Because all they did with the old art for the Urbanmech 2C was take the Urbanmech and then put coveralls on it.
Yeah, or add a couple ridges.
Yeah. So.
Oh, you know what they did? They made it. They were like, oh no, this is indecent. You need to put on a swimsuit.
Yeah.
No, Sting swimsuit from Dune.
Oh. Yeah, I guess so. I do like how the autocannon has Street Sweeper on the side.
Yeah. I mean, the weapons on the 2C look real good. Like the right arm, I think it looks solid.
The best part about the fact that it says Street Sweeper on the side, I just realized they spelled sweeper wrong.
Oh, did they?
They did the SWEAPER. It's EE.
Nice.
Come on, Clanners.
Lol.
I thought you guys are supposed to be perfectionists of the English language.
Even though they like portmanteau a bunch of stuff and like randomly add, Anyway. So for our pilot profiles today, we're going to start off with Sergeant Gina and Gregory McAdam. And they are a pair of fraternal twins who both piloted Urbanmechs, and they held the line at Stein's Folly, or were part of the units that held the line at Stein's Folly. Their combat team was flawless, apparently, according to the reports, and a big part of this is because they were able to anticipate each other's actions quite well, being the whole, like fraternal twins thing. And, being the old trope, Gina is more outgoing and Gregory is more quiet and reserved, apparently. And they also apparently have that weird thing that twins have, which is, like there's our own language, or we can communicate in code, which, would probably be quite good for combat, but, limited use.
Very limited. So our next pilot profile, which is actually the grandmother of a later pilot profile we will do in the next episode.
Foreshadowing.
Is Patricia Wellesley. Commander Patricia Wellesley was a commander in the St. Ives Armored Cavalry. Commander. She was a member of the Urban Defense Unit of the St. Ives Armored Cavalry during the latter days of the Succession Wars. Though considered eccentric by some because of her parchment for collecting teapots and bizarre reading habits, she was an able commander. Her defense of New Colis on Meldor against a Federated Sons raid became a textbook example of urban defense tactic. She was the grandmother of a future individual we will talk about. She piloted Urbanmech, and interestingly enough, in TRO 3025, she was actually, for some reason, named a Draconis Combine officer in the St. Ives Armored Cavalry, with their defense occurring on a Combine world. This was later changed in TRO 3039 and was further reflected in TRO 3050 unabridged. Because,
so we'll say Corrupted Memory Core on that one?
Yes, Corrupted Memory Core.
Definitely. Next up, we have Mech Warrior Gordon Stewart, who is part of Lothar's Fusiliers of the Chesterton Reserves, which is, those of you who are in the know, is House Liao. Stewart refused promotion twice in favor of staying with his lance, which was an urban defense lance, and with staying with his Urbanmech, the Gallant. Interesting name for your Urbanmech. Gordon had no secret of his contempt for House Kurita, and this would be definitely prophetic when the Fourth Secession War kicked off and House Kurita failed to essentially help Liao in any extreme way, seeing as the Federated Sons kind of raffle stomped all over the Capellan Confederation.
I mean, steamrolled would be a good descriptor to use.
Yes. Gordon Stewart would actually end up abandoning Confederation and joining the Tikhonov First Republican Guard when the Tikhonov Free Republic was formed by Pavel Rydzik after the Fourth Secession War. Granted, Tikhonov didn't exactly last for very long, so, take your mileage as it varies.
Mm-hmm. All right, so next up and final pilot profile of the episode, we have Roland, the Eternal Urby pilot. Little is known about Roland and his origin, but what we do know is that he was born and raised on a planet that orbits a K-class star and was settled by people of Norwegian descent. He also was a lover of the Solaris 7 games. He was hired early in his career, if not at the very beginning, by Comstar, likely using cutouts, and it is believed that he traveled to Terra at least once. He and his fellow mercenaries fought in the Third Succession War, seeing heavy fighting from 65 to 80, and Roland is the undisputed best urban mech pilot of all time. He is known for his cut-down AC-10 that is easy to pick out due to its unique muzzle flash, and his ability to move quickly and quietly. His exploits on the battlefield resulted in him and his fellow mercenaries being a coveted unit that many great houses wish to employ. It is believed that during a operation he found sensitive documents or something of that nature, as Comstar became worried about him and contracted a hit on Roland. While out on patrol, Roland was killed in cold blood by his fellow mercenary known as Van Owen. Van Owen shot out Roland's cockpit at point-blank range and fled into the night. All we know about the traitor is that he was born in the Capellan Confederation and ran for Canopus. This is where the man dies and the myth begins. Later on, when Van Owen was crossing a plaza to enter a local HPG station, he was crushed under an Urbanmech's foot. The truly strange thing is that all witnesses swear that they heard no sound of the mech until it impacted. The security cam footage we have access to shows considerable damage to the Urbanmech's cockpit as it flees the scene. We also have weapons cam footage from battles on Luthien, Misery, Palmyra, and Tharkad, spanning a few hundred years, but they all appear to show a cockpitless Urbanmech with a cut-down AC-10, killing mechs and disappearing into the fray. All footage we have found is at long range and we are unable to verify what we appear to see, but we cannot disprove it either. The legend that is spoken around the campfires is that Roland stalks the battlefield killing those who betray their fellow mech warriors, and the Comstar and Word of Blake and clans are believed to be his preferred targets. And that is the story of Roland, the Headless Urby pilot, the man, the legend, the myth.
The guy who's probably dead because his pilot is headless. Not having a head is not very amicable to being alive.
Funny that.
No, we need a torso cockpit, everybody, Mac. Give it a compact gyro. Give it a little head turret.
I mean, it basically already has one.
I mean, the head is the turret, so.
I mean, the head is like the cockpit and head is basically integrated into the torso because there's nothing else there.
Okay, true.
In fact, like if you look at the art, it almost looks like it has a 360 view screen or cockpit glass.
Yeah, I mean, how else are you supposed to be able to see those enemies sneaking up on you? We'll get you. Those dang Davians. Those Free World Leaguers. Those other Capellans.
Those other Free World Leaguers.
Those other Free World Leaguers. Not Republic of the Sphere.
Capellans ruining the Capellan Confederation.
Literally the entire...
The Turians, they just got attacked for some reason by the Capellans. Totally the Turians' fault.
Yep,
Literally
totally
the entire backstory to the Capellan Free Nation or whatever that
the fall of the Trinity Alliance.
Yep.
Capellan, the Free Capella movement. Yeah, the entire story of the Free Capella movement. Those dang Capellans ruining the Confederation.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's essentially what it turns into.
All right. So for our data dive, I'm going to throw over to Chandler because that's also a pretty good segue.
Yep. All right, boys and girls, today we will be revisiting the origins of the Capellan Confederation. And while we have covered this section of history before, it bears a revisiting due to how it affects the history of the Southern Inner Sphere in its entirety. Without the Capellan Confederation, that entire section of space is just completely different. It's despite how you feel about the Capellans, a lot of things happen differently.
Derek, they may be your adversary, but that means that they're important, that you respect their history so that you can learn to defeat them.
Yeah, you gotta go Grand Admiral Thrawn on them.
I have to learn their art, their music, their culture.
Yes. Then you can properly defeat them.
But they have no culture. They're godless.
Mr. Bond, what if they have no culture? All right, so the Capellan Confederation can trace its roots all the way back to one Elias Young Liao, I believe I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, born in 2141 in the Hong Kong Free State on Terra. There he would be part of the political system of Hong Kong before it would be subsumed into Republican China. From here, history is uncertain, but what is known is that he was on Terra until 2188, when Elias and his sons Victor and David escaped from an attack that left Elias's wife and his 2 young daughters dead, and they escaped upon a colony vessel. Of course, these attacks may or may not be due to him being a terrorist. Maybe, maybe not. History is uncertain. That was like 1,000 years ago.
I believe the Capellans pronounce it freedom fighter.
I wouldn't be surprised. But there is a decent argument for him not to be one, because if he was the hard-bitten terrorist, freedom fighter that some of the history makes him out to be, why would he leave? Why wouldn't he just stay and fight to the death like it kind of makes him out to be? So, take whichever outlook you want to, really. This colony vessel would end up landing upon the world that Elias would name Synthania in 2189 after his deceased wife. And then Elias would spend the next 13 years leading the planet and the newly formed Liao Republic into an economic power, prioritizing making Synthania an agricultural exporter due to the rugged terrain of the planet. And seeing how a lot of the colonies of the Terran Alliance would fare after the collapse of the Terran Alliance, making your planet a agricultural exporter is a great idea, because everyone needs food always. Always.
Mm-hmm. Like, as long as you can export food, you're almost self-sufficient, assuming you can, maintain your equipment and chemical fertilizers or, what have you.
Yeah. I thought it was a bit odd that it was too rugged for industry, yet the planet was perfect for agriculture.
Yeah, that's a little...
Especially with the way, at least the American agriculture is, where you want as much flat land as possible, is kind of weird, but maybe it's a different, like a rugged as in it's just hard to access the natural resources.
Like there's just a whole bunch of random plateaus.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe there's like a specific type of wheat variant that grows really well there, but it only grows on the sides of hills and mountains. So you have to farm it using special drones or something.
Maybe. It is mentioned that a lot of plants from other planets, notably Terra, grew really well on Synthania. So. And apparently there was a species of buffalo on Synthania already. Don't ask me how that works. One interesting tidbit is that they were very well known for their racehorses. So apparently they had quite the export of racehorses. Don't tell Saudi Arabia. Whoever space Saudi Arabia is, do not tell them. Unfortunately, in 2202, Elias would die of natural causes. After this, the colonists would petition to rename the planet Liao in his honor, much to the chagrin of his sons Victor and David. Whether that was true chagrin or oh no, don't do that, that would be kind of rude. And then, inside they're like, yes, who knows?
My father was a humble man, and he would not feel he's worthy of this honor that you are bestowing upon him.
Totally no, I will not become the dictator. And then they have to kind of haggle him into being the dictator, but with a planet name. In either case, Victor Liao would take up the reins of leading the now planet Liao into the future, building upon his father's successes. This would bring a not unsubstantial amount of wealth to the world, a wealth that was quickly pushed into producing a merchant marine fleet to help expand and protect Liao's economic interests. It should be noted that civilian ships in this era, which were much more similar to warships than those of today, what would be your jump ships operating effectively as civilian warships? As they're able to move around a system under their own propulsion, and dropships aren't really a thing yet, so they kind of just have shuttles, and they also kind of have guns.
This would be the same area where the first Cretan...
Yeah, when he's doing his
Shinto
stuff.
or Shinny? Yeah, they're fighting the merchant guild.
Yeah, so...
Which is similar things.
Yeah. While these are certainly not full-fledged combat vessels, these ships still had teeth and could enforce Liao's interests. And this fleet would be put to the test when the fleet would prevent a pre-Worlds League force, sponsored by the neighboring Capellan hegemony, from invading the planet of Aboris within the Capellan hegemony. This was due to Aboris having successionist vibes, and the planet would quickly become a protectorate of the Liao Republic and would be followed by a number of others. Then,
all right, hear that? Fail your vibe check, get invaded by the Capellans.
Did not roll a 20 on the vibe check. Then in 2315, Emil Liao, the great-grandson of Elias Liao, would declare the formation of the Duchy of Liao. That's a lot of Liao. With him as the Duke. And the fleet would be further expanded by Emil until his death in 2356. So, doing a good job there, Emil, with all your Liaos. When Emil Liao, the grandson of Liao, would declare the formation of Liao, with him as the Duke of Liao.
Yo, bro, I heard you liked Liao, so I put some Liao in your Liao with some Liao.
Derek's over there seething. He's got a little bit of foam. Too many Liao. Burn them all.
Rabble.
Rabble. But this is where we must turn our eyes to the other founding members of the Capellan Confederation. The next amongst equals would be the aforementioned Capellan hegemony, once the Capellan Republic, ruled by the Eris family, which has a similar descent as Elias Liao, being political agitators on Terra and then fleeing into the colonies, and also led by an aggressive Capellan Senate. Their imperialistic tendencies would bring them into conflict with their neighbors, notably the Sarna supremacy in the Capella Supremacy War in 2303, which dragged the Liao Republic into a more political role in the region. This war would end with the formation of the Capella Commonality. We're just going to trade political terms here. We went from a republic to a hegemony. Now we're a commonality.
Well, I mean, the last time a major sci-fi property went from a republic to an empire, they lost the Senate, so, you know.
I am the Senate.
Could be worse.
They still had the Senate. He didn't die until the end of the rebellion.
Yeah.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. This would be a much more populist government that aimed to govern with a more representative and democratic hand. The region would end up being formed into the Capellan Zone, which would have a number of signatory realms, which is essentially everyone else around the Capellan Commonality. It's a bit hazy, especially since even though the Capellan Commonality is formed and the Capellan Zone is formed, and it's implied that all these other nations are part of the Capellan Zone, they still shoot each other. It's weird.
So much like the Free World League.
My read on it was like it's the EU, except you're allowed to declare war on each other.
Yeah, it's like the EU with guns, but the guns are pointed at the EU by the EU.
So the Texas Spider-Man meme?
Yes, exactly. But that is enough about the Capellan Commonality, Capellan Hegemony, Capellan Republic, Capellan. And next
Sarna
up,
supremacy.
That's a different country. Because next up, we have the Tikhonov Grand Union, which is centered around, of course, the world of Tikhonov, and was settled in 2177. Located on a prime colonization route, Tikhonov would quickly form a loose confederation of worlds that was ruled by the Tetrarchy, also known as a Council of Four. The Union would slowly expand towards Davian space throughout the 2220s, and would only be slowed by a turn of fortune and a slew of political deaths. And by 2350, the Union was at war with the Sarna supremacy and nigh bankrupt. So, not doing too great there, Tikhonov. Not doing too great. Which is a shame, because the space Russians are so interesting. And then finally, we have the Sarna supremacy, with its capital, of course, being Sarna. Real inventive with their names here, guys. Sarna is a beacon of industry in the region, and was arguably the most industrialized planet at the time. The supremacy was a dictatorship, so they didn't beat around the bush at all. They were just like, we're going dictator. And would expand to fill the gaps between the other nations in the area, with the area being what would become the Capellan Zone, and would be willing to use force whenever it felt necessary or useful.
How very hegemony of them.
Yes. It's almost like they feel like they have a supremacy clause.
Ew.
The Sarna supremacy would start wars with the Capellans in 2225, again in 2305, and then have a war with the Tikhonov Grand Union in 2351. And it would take the arrival of Federated Sons Davian forces into the region to halt their warmongering. And speaking of, now we move on to the impetus, the moment that caused the Capellan Confederation to start to form. In 2357, the Federated Sons would invade and occupy the Sarna supremacy world of Bel. This would cause a fair bit of political upheaval in the region, with the Capellan Commonality sending a force to remove the Davian presence on planet. This, of course, would be met with vicious fighting from the Davians if they were still there. They weren't. The Davians were not on planet Bel anymore. The population of the planet Bel was also not there anymore. But poof, all the people gone. It's a sci-fi Roanoke.
Which is, like, nice to see that, sort of mythology or, like, urban legend get reiterated in space, because
it's interesting.
Ooh, spooky.
Spooky.
I kind of wish I'd know what happened to him, but it's also nice to know that it wasn't a massacre or people died. I have to assume people didn't die, because I feel like if they did die, they would have found the bodies. In either case, this uncertainty due to this discovery would somehow echo back into the halls of government, and the new Capellan Commonality would elect a new prime minister, one Seleucus, a man of action, a man of something, not morals. Morals is not a word to use with this guy.
Conviction?
Yeah, let's go with conviction. That's a word. But that is where we shall leave this region of space that would be known as the Capellan Confederation, a loose association of bickering nation-states that were suddenly confronted by an outside force, and a new prime minister in the one power trying to promote some sort of unity in the region. What could happen next is the true start of the Capellan Confederation, which is, of course, the subject of the next Data Dive. Yay!
Yay! Operation Rat.
Look, you need someone to fight, like I said.
Yeah.
They have the Cretans. They kind of have their hands full with that right
It's
now.
true.
Yeah, I got a lot going on right now back at home
Yeah. And abroad.
and abroad. You know what? We just got a lot going on in general.
It's true.
Fed Sons have some problems.
A
One
lot
or
of
two,
problems.
perhaps even three.
Yeah.
So our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, Shrapnel Volume 4, Shrapnel Record Sheets Volume 4, TRO and Record Sheets Succession Wars, TRO 3050 Upgrades, Record Sheets 3050 Inner Sphere, TRO 3060, Record Sheets 3060, TRO 3085, and Record Sheet 3085 Old is the New. Experimental Tech, A Republic of the Sphere Volume 2, and Ill Clan Recognition Guide Volume 2.
I used Handbook House Liao because who would you trust with Liao history other than Liao?
True.
Your little green book.
Yes. At the very least, the Comstar is involved in the production of that, so there's some, snide commentary between the two, which is
some
hilarious.
level of truth-ish.
Air quote oversight.
Yeah.
And
We'll
I
go
mean, you
with
could
that.
always handwave a lot of the stuff that's wrong as, that was like 900 years ago by this point, so like, have fun figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how well do we know a lot of the history from 900 years ago nowadays?
After we've nuked ourselves back to the Dark Age.
Yeah.
This podcast is made possible by our supporters on Patreon, link in the description. Our social media on Twitter is @OriginOfMechs. We have a community Discord, the Armory of Ouroboros, a link in the description. You can email us at ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your platform of consumption, tell your friends, and share on your community platform of choice. Special thanks to my friend Treble for the intro and outro. Our Ace Pilot Patreons are John Keith III and Metal Ed. Our Field Marshal patrons are Field Marshal Stahlkater and Field Admiral Chiraneau. Class dismissed. Everybody have a great day.
Stay safe out there.
New Avalon in the new year, my friends.
Module complete. Systems standby. Would you like to load the next module?
You keep saying that. And the new
Hey,
year
man.
keeps becoming a new year.
I've been saying it for like 5-6 months. Only been one new year.
Have not had a full calendar year.
Yeah, I haven't had a full calendar
Right.
year yet. So,
Doth not worry. We only have
And this year, Derek's
8
going to be
more
a
months
very
to go.
good boy,
Or not yet.
and Santa's going to bring him New Avalon.
Dear
Yeah.
Santa, I just want New Avalon back. Give me
either
New
that
Avalon.
or I will just continue to complain to Ray Arostia on the Wolfnet Discord. Because
like November, if we haven't gotten Dominions divided yet, you should just write a serious, not so serious, like Santa list and just address it to Ray. Be like, Dear Santa, aka Ray, what I want for Christmas is New Avalon in the new year.
yeah. And then if I don't get that, then I just write a seething letter of rage and anger that I just
I don't
vent
believe in
out.
Santa anymore.
Yeah.
Because of you, Ray.
I don't believe in Ray Arostia anymore.
Ray Arostia is Santa. Hashtag confirmed. You heard it here first.
You didn't give me New Avalon, therefore you don't exist.